I mean, listen, when you can't get Fox News on board with your choice, you know it's worse than terrible.
I got to tell you, I just got off the phone with a senior Trump advisor. He tells me Trump is going to bring in somebody to burn down the DOJ from the inside, and Matt is going to do that. Conservatives believe that the DOJ is in chaos.
The more you get to know Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard, the more you're going to like her. The more you get to know Matt Gaetz, the less you're going to like him. I'm going to be really surprised if he can get confirmed.
Right. So would I, especially after how we blew up Kevin McCarthy. I had no plan B.
After Trump opted to raise a few eyebrows by nominating a man who knows a thing or two about raised eyebrows, Matt Gaetz, to be the next Attorney General, the response has been anything but positive from both Senate Republicans in turmoil.
On the issue of vetting, though, how critical is it then to have access to what the House Ethics Committee has found in their investigation?
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated.
So you want to see it?
Absolutely.
I just think it's silly. I believe that the president is probably rewarding him for being such a loyal soldier to the president. But the president is smart enough and his team is smart enough to know that Mr. Gaetz will never get confirmed by the Senate. Mr. Gaetz breaks things to break things, and then once he breaks it even more. And that is somebody who should not be the Attorney General of the United States. I can tell you, I'm not the only one out of 222 that we'll end up with that is happy that he is leaving this conference.
To people within his MAGA contingent and even Fox News, who you'd expect to just go along with Trump's decisions, akin to that insufferable guy who said if he says jump, we just say how high. But maybe as high as Matt Gaetz likes to brag he gets at his weird gatherings is a bridge too far.
All right, we've got another Trump appointment, and this is one that is probably going to surprise a lot of people because he was not on any of the lists that were floating around out there. And there had been some discussion that President-elect Trump was having trouble making this final decision, or maybe this is the person he had in mind all along. But he has now nominated Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz as Attorney General of the United States. He just wrote this on Truth Social, quote, Matt is a deeply gifted and tenacious attorney, trained at William & Mary College of Law, distinguished himself in Congress through his focus on achieving desperately needed reform at the Department of Justice. Few issues in America are more important than ending the partisan weaponization of our justice system. Matt will end weaponized government, protect our borders, dismantle criminal organizations, and restore Americans' badly shattered faith and confidence in the Justice Department.
I can't tell you the psychiatric diagnosis. I can just tell you it's dangerous for the Republican Party.
You need to put your country ahead of your own personal hatred, man. You got to get control of it, brother. But he won't.
I would compare him to that toddler that we've all seen at the family barbecue, eating toilet paper, shoving Cheerios up his nose to get attention.
Gaetz resigned from the House on Thursday, a day after President-elect Donald Trump announced his nomination, effectively ending House Ethics Committee investigation into sex trafficking and drug use allegations against Gaetz that began back in 2021. Now, Democratic Senator Dick Durbin, the current chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, called on the House Ethics Committee Thursday to, quote, preserve and share their report and other information gathered on Gaetz.
The timing of Mr. Gaetz' resignation from the House raises serious questions about the contents of the House Ethics Committee report. We cannot allow this valuable information from a bipartisan investigation to be hidden from the American people.
I am going to demand release of the Ethics Committee report, all of its findings and recommendations.
Meanwhile, the most spineless of spineless Republicans have caught a case of MAGA amnesia, as they seemingly forgot how vigilant they were in their past indictment of Matt Gaetz, all as a means to bend the knee to their fearless cult leader.
Once facing possible prosecution for sex trafficking by the Department of Justice, now tapped as the country's top prosecutor. Donald Trump's selection of Congressman Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General sent shockwaves through Washington and the country yesterday. Gaetz has earned notoriety for a variety of political stunts over the years. Here he was on Capitol Hill, sporting a gas mask during the COVID pandemic. But it's been his sexual, not political exploits that have landed him in trouble in recent years.
He was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one and the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
That was Senator Mark Wayne Mullen last year. The Department of Justice ultimately declined to press charges against Gaetz, but the House ethics probe into his conduct has been continuing. A report had been expected as soon as tomorrow. That is, until that ethics committee lost jurisdiction over Gaetz when he resigned from the House yesterday, effective immediately. Here was that same Senator Mullen yesterday.
You know, Matt Gaetz and I, there's no question that we've had our differences. They've been very public about it. I completely trust President Trump's decision making on this one. But at the same time, he's got to come to Congress and sell himself. There's a lot of, or to the Senate and sell himself. There's a lot of questions that are going to be out there. He's got to answer those questions. And hopefully he's able to answer the questions right. And if he can, then we'll go through the confirmation process.
So what about that confirmation process? My colleague Manu Raju was all over that question on the Hill yesterday. You may recall scenes like the one that played out on the Hill yesterday during the last Trump administration. This all feels very familiar to me.
I'm having trouble. What about Matt Gaetz?
He's a what? The confirmation process.
I don't know yet. I think about that one. Do you have any concerns about it? We'll see. Do you think Matt Gaetz is confirmable? We'll find out, won't we? Senator Kennedy, what do you think of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
But this seems to be a trend, right? Across the board, Trump seems to be making life harder for fellow Republicans already, while simultaneously pissing off his most staunch supporters by dipping his hands deep into the swamp to pick out other appointees. You see, after J.D. Vance had touted the man he formerly called America's Hitler as the candidate of peace, Trump went ahead and appointed the hawkiest of hawks in several positions, upsetting those who actually believed he wouldn't revert back to the Washington way of finding those most okay with war.
Marco Rubio, what is this? What are we even talking about?
We got a little bit concerned about this announcement that at least somebody's quoting somebody like Trump and saying Trump said this and Trump's plans to do this. And that has to do with Rubio. You know, Rubio, he's one of those that's not on our favorite list.
You will face military action on the part of the United States. We don't want that to happen. But the risk of a nuclear Iran is so great that that option must be on the table.
So if it came to that, that would be an option that you would actually
absolutely
consider and use.
And let me tell you why. If we don't do it, someone else will. The Saudis are not going to sit there and watch Iran build a Shia bomb without a Sunni bomb. The Israelis are not going to sit there and watch a regime that calls for their destruction develop the capability to do so. But again, we would hope to have avoided that point by severely limiting and sanctioning Iran for its nuclear ambitions. And quite frankly, I think this deal could literally lead to increasing the prospects for war.
But what you're saying here, we cannot let Iran become a nuclear power, and we have to do whatever is necessary if that includes going to war.
Absolutely. Not to be outdone by his own stupidity, Trump had to go ahead and nominate RFK Jr. for Health Secretary, a man whose anti-vaccine activism led to a measles outbreak in Samoa that resulted in the death of 83 people, mostly children.
You also point to one episode where he spoke out against the measles vaccine. What was the impact of that?
In Samoa, there were 2 children that died immediately following receipt of a measles vaccine. And the way it works in Samoa is they have a MMR vaccine in powdered form. It needs to be diluted in water. 2 nurses made a mistake. Instead of diluting it in water, they diluted it in a muscle relaxant. Those children stopped breathing and died immediately. Now, very quickly, within 2 weeks, it was realized what that mistake was. It was a nursing error. But nonetheless, RFK Jr. seized on that. He flooded Facebook with the information that measles vaccine is killing children in Samoa. He went to Samoa. He met with anti-vaccine activists. He met with senior officials in Samoa and kept the drumbeat alive that measles vaccine was killing children in Samoa. As a consequence, vaccination rates fell from 70% to 30%. And between September and December of 2019, there was a massive measles epidemic. In this island nation of 200,000 people, there were 57,000 cases of measles and 83 deaths. Most of those deaths were in children less than 4 years of age. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had everything to do with that. And that shows you how disinformation can kill.
And this is just week one, guys.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.